Outside of Gate B there, Parsegian Gate here at Notre Dame Stadium. I'm Tim Prister with Tim O'Malley from Irish Illustrated, joined by John Brice of FootballScoop. We just witnessed a portion of practice number 9 here in the preseason for Notre Dame. We've been studying the offensive line. Of course, we all know that Charles Jagusa suffered the pectoralis injury that required surgery, and he'll be out for the season. Tosh Baker working with number one unit at left tackle. I don't know that we have anything more to say here, Tim, other than I think we can probably safely say that Gerby Lambert is the backup right tackle, and on the left side, Anthony Knapp is the backup left tackle.
Yeah, and that's good news for future. Sullivan Absher worked at guard again today, so that's the player we all thought could help and give, not veteran, but give a little bit older support at tackle as needed. Interesting today watching the offensive line. Pat Coogan took a lot of center reps because they have to get a second center for Texas A&M. And Pat Coogan will be the second center, I think. But remember, he can't rep game weeks much at center. Right. He has to rep at left guard, where we think he is going to win that job. So we saw Coogan doing it. We saw Sam Pendleton take some left guard reps as well today.
It was goal line that they were working on. They were going up against the other offensive linemen, so it wasn't a legit full-scale goal line. But that Coogan did get some snaps at center. That certainly makes sense. It does look like Coogan is probably going to win the left guard job, but you have Rocco Spindler there as a real ace in a hole. John, on the defensive side of the ball, we wanted to follow Benjamin Morrison. We wanted to see how he looked. He was taking some punt block reps. Yeah. Nothing with a football or the round balls that they were using on punts, but it's just good to see him running around there and included in everything they're doing on defense without the physicality, and then special teams as well.
Yeah, and look, he wasn't diving onto the ground during those simulated punt block reps, but he was giving full extension. He was coming hard off of the edge, and he was getting after it, and they were using like volleyballs or something as a mock football in that drill. But again, he was very active. He was one of the first, maybe the first player to rep in the punt block drill off of the edge. I watched him intently during some secondary drills where they were working on a press and trail coverage type situation. And no, he didn't jam the receiver, and he didn't get jammed when it was his turn to be the receiver, but he was fully engaged, and he had great technique as usual. He was step for step with the receiver. He showed no ill signs from the shoulder. He was wearing long sleeves. He likes to wear long sleeves under his practice attire. That's not anything abnormal for him, but again, he was full participant, full go, looked really good. I do want to note, you pick up on the little things with Ben Morrison when you study him as intently as you had me do today, so kudos to you for that. But when he was in that press and trail drill, and I watched him so intently, and then he's still able to keep with the receiver and check back for the quarterback's eyes. These are the other things that I know he's helping some of the younger defensive backs with, but it's also one of the elements that just makes him so elite.
His football instincts are so great, and it's
IQ.
Well, IQ, and it's a testament to Brophy and the program that he came from as well. Tim, jumping back to the offensive side of the ball, I did take a peek at the receivers, and we consistently see Mitchell at the X, Greathouse at the Z, and Thomas at the
Thomas at the W.
And Thomas at the W. I'm mixing our terminology, but we are back to where we used to be with Mike Denbrock. But, I wouldn't read into that means that Jordan Faison and Harrison and Collins are not in the mix. I think those 6 are going to, flow in and out of the game at all times. And I think Faison, I saw him working at the X today, but clearly he's a Z as well. They've just got a great situation there. KK Smith was at the X, and we saw Gilbert at the W, Colsey at the W with Collins and Thomas. So the constant rotation there that we saw, nothing's changed. They got a whole bunch of good wide receivers.
They do, and I do think Texas A&M is going to feature 6 wide receivers, and I'm not jumping the gun on this one, but I've seen a few drops the last 2 practices by Micah Gilbert and Deion Colsey, and they're going to be number 7 and 8 in there, and KK Smith's going to be 7 and 8 along with them. Texas A&M is like Ohio State starting out. It's like when you have Georgia week 2. There is a game where you don't rotate as heavily as you do other 12 games this year. Texas A&M is not going to be the heaviest rotation game. You're not going to see 12. Well, you might see 12 defensive linemen because of the heat, but they're going to rotate a little less as the second half progresses. You need more than 6 receivers, but those 6 are interchangeable. The most interesting thing for me is I have not seen Faison take a slot rep when I watch, and it's because they are really trying to get him some work at the X. Yeah. I have not seen Jaden Greathouse take X reps.
No.
They want him to work in the slot because they know they can play the other
We only
position.
see a small portion of practice,
Yeah,
so there's
I asked
plenty
Steve,
of time.
I asked Steve Angeli about Greathouse. He's like, you can't put a nickel on him. You can't put a linebacker on him. He's in the slot. It's just a different matchup for everybody. They like him there. If I were to guess, week 1, he's the starting slot receiver.
Yeah, I agree. We saw some linebacker work. We saw some running backs taking on, working in pass protection. JB, I know you saw a rep with Aeneas Williams at running back. We had hinted here earlier in the week that he's made progress in pass protection. We spoke to him earlier in the week or last week as well. Kid's pretty good. We know he can run it, and we're starting to find out that he can pass protect as well.
Yeah, let's make clear that Kedron Young, Aeneas Williams, Jeremiah Love, Jadarian Price, all at points today had pass pro wins, and at different points were praised by Deela McCullough. Nobody was praised the way that Aeneas Williams was. I thought today, in watching that drill very intently, watching that period, and it was a full 5-minute period, that he was the best back in pass pro, to the point I wish I could repeat Max Bullah's entire quote.
You often cannot.
No,
Right?
even his interviews. But Max Bullah just said, "Goodness gracious, that's a really good rep, 20." He didn't say goodness gracious. That's my Southern colloquialism. But he was really impressed by Aeneas Williams. And when you impress the guy coaching the group going against you, you know you've done something right. Drake Bowen and Jalen Sneed had some wins in that drill. I thought Drake Bowen was really good on the interior portion of that drill, coming between a couple of trash cans that were set up to simulate offensive linemen, but he shot through it really well, got immediately to the quarterback. Sneed off the edge, just abused the running back in that situation and gave the quarterback absolutely no chance to escape. So overall, a win in that period I had for the running backs as a collective group, and especially for Aeneas Williams, but Drake Bowen and Jalen Sneed also both very much shined.
Tim, you saw a rep with Sneed in the open field in pass coverage, and we talked about the other day that Sneed and Kaiser in the open field are really good against the pass. But what did you see today?
Today it was a bit of a goal line drill where the defense has to stand up the running back. It was interesting because they also use wide receivers and tight ends in this. I believe half of the players were obscured. It was a very spirited drill, so there were players in the way. Most people that were watching this drill believe it was Jeremiah Love who absolutely ran through Jalen Sneed to make a point of all the players jumping up and down, congratulating him. Looked like a 1. It wasn't Jaden Greathouse. If it is, that's really good news for Notre Dame. It may be bad news for Sneed, but I think it was Jeremiah Love. Some other wins. Jadarian Price took the first rep against Jack Kaiser. I think that's somewhat notable. Spun off of Kaiser. That's the one way the running backs can win. You either go through them like Love did, or you spin off because it's a stop them at the goal line rep. Kevin Bauman put some grown man strength on Logan Thomas at one point, kind of threw him around. I thought Jordan Clark had a huge win against a running back on the other side. I couldn't see who that was, but it was a great drill. The problem was, and this will all be detailed in my practice report, half the guys they beat, I just detailed who they won. You couldn't see who they beat because they were usually on the ground and they're very far away. But this was one of the more physical drills we've seen, and it's just to kind of give you a visual. There's pads lined up. On the snap, you have to go around the pad and meet the running back in the hole. It was clearly a goal line or short yardage drill because if they get a yard, you lose. Jeremiah Love got more than a yard.
Well, that's talking about a continuation of a pattern, because we saw him start to establish his physicality in the spring as he added weight. Now he's at 210. He played the Sun Bowl at 187 or whatever it was, so he's come a long way, and he's really starting to become a complete player.
Tim, I should note Justin Fischer did win that drill against KVA, which was impressive because we talked about Justin Fischer possibly being a short yardage guy, and Kedron Young ran through someone too. Again, he was obscured, unfortunately, for me on this one. But the made contact, I thought the Price-Kaiser thing and the Sneed, we believe, Love, that's good on good going right there, and it was good to see that at practice.
Yeah. We did see Charles Jagasa. He was out there today in a sling. He had the surgery for the torn pectoralis, and he spent most of the practice, or while I was watching the offensive line, talking to Mitchell Evans, a tight end, the other day.
I had a job to watch Mitchell Evans.
Yes,
It was not hard.
Did. Yeah, Mitchell Evans didn't do anything today. He was in uniform, but he I shouldn't say that. He was talking up Charles Jagasa most of the time. So, I don't know if it was a day off. We know Thursday was a physical practice. We don't know if there was a setback. We saw video of him the other day, Mitchell Evans, that is, of catching the ball in the red zone and crossing the end zone. I don't want to speculate too much, although you did You asked Guidugli, was it?
Yeah,
on?
I had talked to Riley Leonard and Gino Guidugli about the importance of having an All-American tight end as your safety blanket, and they kind of had mentioned the fact that he's coming back into contact. So I believe when I first saw Mitchell Evans sitting out, I thought it was an issue. I believe today was a requisite day off for a guy coming back from ACL surgery 10 months ago.
And I was just going to say this staff at Marcus Freeman's behest has really driven down on health, on monitoring the workload, studying every single aspect of those catapult systems that they have on all the players. And so they're very cognizant of workload management, especially for a guy like Mitchell Evans, who's a proven asset and is coming back from an injury like that.
A couple different sources indicated that Howard Cross did not finish today's practice. We don't want to go too deep into it. We'll let you know when we find out more. We believe it was a lower body injury. He's been dealing with a hamstring. We've that's been reported in recent days, but we'll let you know we know a little bit more about him. Until then, Tim Priester, Tim O'Malley, John Brice. This has been Irish Illustrated's Instant Analysis.